Okay, everybody. Motherfucking insanity. Motherfucking goddamn crazy ape shit insanity. Just nothing. Nothing could have prepared me for this episode. Nothing. Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. So, iPhone or Android? I have an Android. So we start out with Ray and Mr. C going on a car trip away from prison where they've just escaped. And basically, Mr. C is like, "You've got something I want," he says to Ray. And Ray mentions something about some crazy number that he has memorized. And Ray basically mentions he wants money. He said, "I think this is worth some money." Mr. C is like, "Hey, let's get off the highway and let's go up here." So Ray gets out of the car, uses the restroom. Mr. C pulls a gun on him. Ray's ready for it. Kills Mr. C. Kills Agent Cooper. What happens then? Well, the Doppel Cooper actually is flashes of light. Okay, hold on here. Let's switch cameras. Intense flashes of light and ghostly apparitions of woodsmen, like charred looking people that are like, I guess they look like lumberjacks almost, appear out of nowhere. They just appear and they start milling about the dead body of the doppelganger. And they go and they start like taking all this blood, and I can't tell if it's the doppelganger's blood from the gunshots or if it's some other type of blood, which is kind of explained later. And they start smearing it like all over like his face, and like I think so he can drink the blood or eat it or something, and they just go smearing it all over. And all of a sudden, Doppelkoop gets back up. Before that occurs, you see that his stomach opens and the head of Bob is in what looks like a fleshy globe. And it's one of the craziest things, but that doesn't compare to what happens after that. We cut to, I kid you not, 1945, New Mexico. And it's the atomic bomb testings. That's actually an effect to be similar to what I just saw tonight, Maniac the Light. That's on purpose. Well, he was talking to Agent Philip Jeffries. He says Philip. And it sounds like maybe Ray was out to kill Cooper or Doppelkoop. It sounds like maybe he's a good guy. Like almost like an agent that was working to do that. So, the atomic bomb testing happens. Giant mushroom cloud. We travel into the mushroom cloud. And we see crazy amounts of different colors and lights. And a convenience store shows up. And I, for the life of me, can't tell if it was always there or if it just appeared. And those bizarre looking people that were milling about and brought Doppelkoop back to life are milling about outside the convenience store after a bunch of insane amounts of smoke and light came out of the convenience store. Like, as sound was being reversed. And this weird clipping was happening. It was crazy. Oh, and right before this, Nine Inch Nails performed in the Roadhouse. Like a 4 or 5 minute Nine Inch Nails song. Actually introduced as Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, he definitely knew something was up. I agree with you, Mr. Try. So, I'm trying to keep this all straight. A human-looking body floating in the sky opens up its mouth, and what looks like an umbilical cord comes out. And in the umbilical cord is possibly like the equivalent of sperm, like beings or people or something. And one of the main ones they show us is Bob. Bob, right there. And then we're taken to an ocean, which could be possibly the same ocean we saw in episode 3, and a gigantic outcropping of rock, and on top of it, which looks like an observation tower, observation thing. In there is a woman seated and listening to music. This giant conical thing starts beeping, and the giant shows up. He just walks from behind it. There he is. He then leaves that room and goes to another, and he's watching all the events that occurred after the nuclear bomb testing. It's like almost on a movie screen. He's watching it like it's projected somehow. And he goes and he floats upward, just starts floating and floats in at an angle. And bizarre golden shafts of light come out of his head, and eventually a golden sphere, and a golden sphere travels over to the woman we saw earlier listening to music, who's now entered this room, and inside the golden sphere is Laura Palmer's head. I don't know exactly what to say. It's beautiful. It was gorgeous. It looked like a mix between a 1920s silent film. So this is what it looked like. It was like a Nine Inch Nails music video. Okay. Then it goes into 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then there were moments, because the music was so stirring and it was so colorful and wild, that it reminded me of Fantasia. That's what it reminded me of. A cross between all three of those things. That's only a part of the story. Let me take a bite of donut here. Next up, we have a time elapsing. The same area in New Mexico, or Mexico City, sorry. But now it's, I believe it was 1956, so time has elapsed to 1956, okay? There's an egg in the sand, and it hatches, and this insect comes out. this bizarre looking insect with almost more like frog legs, or almost like baby legs almost, hatches out of this egg. And it's crazy to see this thing. It's like this amazing like puppet, or I can't tell if it's digital or puppetry or what the hell it is, but it's insane. And it hatches, and it just goes and kind of like moves around, spreads its wings a little bit, puts his wings back in, and just kind of goes right off screen. And you're sitting there like, okay. You meet a young couple out for a date. They're very young. They're like, I'd say 13, 14, something like that. It's real sweet. It's 1956. And they're going, and like the date's about to end, and the boy asks if he can kiss the girl. She agrees, and then they kiss. Then a gas station is shown. We cut away from these kids. Gas station shown. A woodsman, similar to what brought Doppelkoop back, floats down out of the sky and lands. And all these other woodsmen appear. And they go and start wreaking havoc, literally crushing people's skulls with their hands. And they keep repeating, "Got a light. Got a light. Got a light." Like, they don't understand like what human language is almost. It's terrifying. Terrifying. So they stop this group of people in their car, and they just start killing them. And the main person with a cigarette, who was saying "got a light," the one they focused on, he goes to a radio station, walks right in, crushes the receptionist's head, this one woman, with his hand. Goes into the actual room for broadcasting, because that's what he's there for, and says this terrifying poem about water. And I mean, it's so hard to keep track of everything. This is just such an insane and fucking crazy episode. And when he says this, it either kills people when they hear this on the radio, what he's reciting, or it puts them to sleep. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure which. I think it puts them to sleep. Because that young girl who was out on her little date, she's sleeping. That insect we see outside her window, that terrifying, nightmare-inducing insect thing, leaps up on her windowsill, and we show her sleeping. And she opens up her mouth. The insect crawls right in. This gigantic insect. The thing was like this long. And like that was the end of the episode. Now we're going to get into my theories, my insane theories. I think that the atomic bomb testing is what split the worlds apart. The world of the Black Lodge, the White Lodge, and our world. I think that atomic bomb testing is what did it. And I think the idea of war and things like that are going to figure out very heavily into Twin Peaks. I said this before because we found out Linda was a veteran of the war. And someone else was too. Truman's son. So, all I can think of is this. The little man from another place in Fire Walk with Me talks to Bob. It says, we descended from pure air. Talks about intercourse between the worlds. I'm thinking that's what we saw with the person and the umbilical cord and the sperm type things. I think that was the intercourse between the worlds. I don't know if Bob and those the woodsmen, if they were lodge spirits, or if these are what are known as the Dugpas, the sorcerers. And they definitely seem to be different from the place where the giant comes from. That seems to be a much different place. I will say this, the place where the giant comes from is very similar to in episode 3, the satellite that we saw. It has the same kind of conical structure. And what I'm trying to piece together is this. When Bob was reincarnated in modern day, because time doesn't seem to work the same in the Black Lodge, or their logic of time or whatever, it seems like once they reincarnated him there, the effect started in 1945, possibly. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. Because it looked like the idea that possibly Bob was reincarnated and then Laura was reincarnated. That's all I can figure out from that. I don't know. I do think that these big, large answers we'll get from David eventually in some form. I don't think this is just meant to be an hour of insanity. I think he was showing us something that's going to make more sense eventually. Now, one thing that was very interesting is, though, for the atomic bomb, we saw a giant gold sphere. And so what they could be also hinting at is this is technically how they manufactured Dougie. That might be what they're trying to get at. And this is like the first part of that, showing us that. And then there's going to be more. So it's possible Bob didn't do it. There is a very big possibility he is not the person who manufactured Dougie. Mr. Try, what did you think? The soundtrack's amazing. If you're a fan of Angelo Badalamenti, the music was amazing. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. Nearing the end. I do like the idea, though, that there was this terrible ancient evil, okay? And the thing that finally let it loose was the atomic bomb testing. I don't know. Part of me thinks that young girl, though, has a connection to Laura Palmer. I don't know what that connection is, though. Because the golden sphere with Laura's face and the egg, I think, are connected. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. Did anyone else see it? I know, for some foolish reason, I thought that we'd have Cooper back this week. But being that I've seen one of the most insane hours of anything, movie, television, interpretive dance, anything, I was pretty happy. I mean, I will say this right now, though. This was, if you're a fan of David Lynch's movies, you are going to love this season. Love it. Adore it. If all you liked was Twin Peaks, good chance are you're going to hate this, or you already did. And this cemented it. I think that this was the breaking point. I think a lot of people are going to stop watching now. I was just looking at the people online on the actual Twin Peaks fan page, one of the main big ones on Facebook, and a lot of upset people. I'm not upset. I mean, I see he's trying to show us something. He's trying to tell us something here. I feel all of this is going to tie into us getting Coop back. I think that's why he had to do this. Yeah, I definitely think that golden sphere had to do with the egg. Oh my god, it wasn't just flashbacks even. It was, I mean, everything beyond even being flashbacks was it just insanity. I mean, it was an hour of avant-garde craziness. And if he was testing us, episode 3 was about a half hour of avant-garde craziness. 20 minutes to a half hour worth. And here it was roughly 45 minutes. Like, even the narrative stuff with the God of Light guy was insane. I mean, so what do you think? Do you think those are the Dugpa sorcerers, or do you think they're demons? I mean, he sounded like a demon, or some other weird creature. He didn't seem human. Yes. Do you mean the puking figure that was floating in the sky that had like an umbilical cord come out of his mouth? Well, here's something really interesting, Mr. Try. Get ready for this. The term woodsman is used in the credits. Woodsman. And in Fire Walk with Me, in the above the convenience store, the meeting that happens, there's a character called the Woodsman. Now, I don't know why they're all charred and everything like that. Yes, it did remind me of that, Mr. Try. It did remind me of the person behind Winkies. So it could be that all this connects, too. That's been a rumor, and Mulholland Drive actually has a surrogate for Laura Palmer and one for Ronette Pulaski in the Silencio scene. But yeah, when the first woodsman shows up, it looks this we descended from pure air thing really hit me. I was like, wait a minute. What fascinates me about this is I think that most people won't be able to understand this unless they saw Fire Walk with Me and the missing pieces. I mean, it's very possible that there'll be things explained a little bit more. I don't think he can just do that. Because he just told people they should see Fire Walk with Me. He made it seem like it wasn't even that important to see the original series. Now I'm starting to understand why. I'm starting to understand why that is now. But yeah, one thing we do know: the woodsmen's or these creatures or whatever they are insanely strong. Also, too, what they did reminded me of the well, here's a question for you, Mr. Try. Do you do you think one of these woodsmen, maybe not the God of Light guy, but one of them, do you think that's the person we saw in the prison that disappeared? Because then they're at least trying to connect things in a really obscure, insane way. So, because remember, they made a point of us seeing him last week, walking through the halls. I'm thinking that too, Mr. Try. And it definitely feels, doesn't it definitely feel though like the nuclear bomb testing is what actually awoke them or something? It seems to be that that was a catalyst. Yes. So I am thinking though they could still be the sorcerers, the Dugpaws. What Wyndham Earl told us about in season 2. They cultivate evil for the sake of evil. Because there's no reason to think that the Dugpaws didn't have powers or abilities if they're sorcerers. I don't know. Or maybe it was misunderstood what they were. Maybe people thought they were human sorcerers and they were something else entirely in the beginning. You know, almost like Randall Flagg in The Stand. So, do you think then the young girl who had the insect crawl inside her, her mouth at least, do you think that she is going to become a surrogate of Laura Palmer? Like, I mean, the logic here, it doesn't even mean that she has to be in this time. She could somehow magically now travel to our current day or something insane. Like I said, I think this is how they manufactured Dougie. But yeah, that'd be crazy if you. I don't know. We've never seen. We have never seen. Hmm. I mean, we never saw the insect having to do with Bob, and this whole insane idea of manufacturing people. I mean, it could be that the insect goes into that young girl, and then because the head of that sphere was her head in it, Laura's head, that it's going to become looking like her. So then that bears the question: are there multiple Coopers? Have we only seen two? That's something I thought early on as soon as we met Doppelkoop and saw him on his having fun all over, and they mentioned the whole manufacturer thing. I was like, what if there's more? What if the idea is that there's more of them? So the thing that he mentions, that could, if he was a Dugpaw, that could have been a spell. The thing about the water and everything, the poem. It could be a poem similar to Fire Walk with Me. And now here's something really fascinating, Mr. Try. Are we supposed to interpolate? I'm sorry, extrapolate that what happened to the young girl was happening to the other people that fell asleep? That there were other insects out there. Do you think that is part of it? Because not everyone that fell asleep, I mean, I don't think they all died. I don't think that's what happened. But everyone that seemed to fall asleep, you know what it reminds me of? Have you seen Dark City? Remember how people would just fall asleep? I forget the name of those things, but then people would fall asleep. It kind of reminded me of that. And here's something really screwed up. Let's go back to Agent Philip Jeffries because it turns out he's pretty important, even if they couldn't get David Bowie here for this season. In a dream, we live inside a dream. When we're unconscious, what are these things doing besides putting insects in us? But do you think multiple people have the insects in them? Like, do you think they were just showing us one person and we're supposed to surmise that with all these other people unconscious, that the same thing's going to happen to them? But yeah, the woodsman definitely to me seemed like a demon. Very powerful, very evil. So either a sorcerer or a demon. I think he's slowly going to start explaining it, Mr. Try. I really do. Because keep in mind, it's not just David Lynch, it's also Mark Frost. So I think we are meant to see things here that are going to slowly make more sense. I think at this point, this isn't quite this is about the halfway point. There's a total of 18 episodes, but it's going to be, I believe, 17 that air because one of them's 2 hours. The finale is a 2 hour episode. So I believe it was supposed to be 18 hours of TV, but 17. I'm sorry, yeah, 18 hours of TV, but 17 hours. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ, 18 hours of TV, but 17 episodes. I thought. You think the insect is Bob? That's terrifying. So you're saying Bob didn't exist until 1945? Or somehow when he was reincarnated in modern day it made this happen? Because that's what it seems like. It seems like they're getting at the idea that reincarnation in modern day causes these insane events that happened in the past. Andre the Giant, VCR, good to see you. Yes, they show Bob in that sphere, but is the sphere that we see with the egg, is that more related to the Laura sphere? That's the whole thing. And here's something good too. So the woodsman, is what he's saying, is that just to put them to sleep, or is it also like directions and information for the insect? You could look at it that way too, because he's like talking about it as if it's like a safe place, a place to grow, a place to. It's what it makes it sound like. Oh, that I agree with Mr. Try. Yes, that was definitely Bob right there. Yeah, I look forward to finding out what the hell these things are. These woodsmen are these. I mean, I don't think they're trying to say aliens are involved. I don't. I mean, when that one descended from the sky, I was like, I, I don't think that's necessarily what we're supposed to see though. Like body snatchers, I don't think that's what they're going for. One of the people in the episode was called Experiment. That's interesting. Okay, hold on here. We're going to be getting some interesting information. One second. See, I have it running here with no volume. That's how I was getting the cool flashes of light on the screen. Hold on here. So, yeah, the Woodsman. And then they still don't list Carl Strucken as the giant. It just says the question marks. But it doesn't even list the other Woodsman. Just that one person. So now what I'm going to have to do is go to the episodes, the previous episode, and see if that was the same person that was in the prison. I mean, it could have been. We didn't get to see his face all that easily, but like this guy looked older. That's why I wasn't sure if it was the same man. Oh yeah, I don't think that's far fetched at all. I definitely thought they were like sperm or something. I thought those were all different things. Like Bob was one of them, but there were others. You saw all those other ones, and they obviously didn't know what to make each one look like, so the only one they focused on was Bob. But it definitely seems like it had to do with the atomic testing. So that's a fascinating thing. So then, how does Bob end up in Twin Peaks? The rumor is the idea of ley lines. That all around the world there are these things called ley lines having to do with power. And supposedly, if you look at the listing of ley lines, there is one in Washington State. So that could have been when they were coming up with this something they knew about, and were like, I would guess Mark Frost knew about it. But yeah, I mean, it was like there were insane moments, in this episode, just completely insane. I thought it was great. Did you like it, Mr. Try? And some of Battle of Many's music in here is astounding. So some of the music is Dean Hurley and David Lynch, and I believe some of it's Battle of Many. So you don't think he existed before then? You think there was an ancient evil, but it wasn't him? I mean, they're an ancient evil, but it didn't look like him, maybe. Like, it was what he was, but that was the first time he took physical form. That's wild. I never once thought... Because, see, I thought Bob was ancient. And always looked that way. And I guess it makes more sense about 1945. He does have the jean jacket. And I think he also has jeans he's wearing. So that clothing wouldn't make sense if he was ancient. Well, that's terrifying that he starts as an insect. That's very much like Stephen King. That's going to surprise people. It is, yes, you're right. It is biblical. Yes. Instead of a snake, it's a weird insect. I don't know what the hell kind of insect you would say that thing was. It was crazy. Yeah, you're right. You're right. How terrifying would that have been if it had Bob's face? But do you think the young girl's going to physically then become Bob? Because the whole possession thing, as far as we know... Oh, shit. Bob might have been... Bob might be almost exactly like Pennywise. It could have been an insect that approached young Leland. But he couldn't see it as that. He only saw... Oh, and Jesus Christ, what about the owls are not what they seem? What if they were those actual insect things? They fly, that insect had the wings, remember? What if that's what they really are? That would be fucking crazy. I mean, that's out there, but I don't think it's an impossible thing. But no one in a million years would have guessed that the owls are not what they seem. Oh, obviously. They're giant insects. And they're terrifying. They're quite nightmarish. But no, even if it was like an insect, right? And young Leland couldn't see it. He saw this guy in the jean jacket and everything. It's how he saw it. So it would be like how the kids envisioned Pennywise from what Pennywise really was. I wonder if he's really going to do that. I wonder if it's so similar to Stephen King. I mean, it's hard to think of Bob the same way again if you think about these, frightening insects. I wonder how Frank Silva would have felt about like all the digital use of him in this. I mean, I think it's cool they didn't get another actor. They could have, but I think it's wild that they used just digital versions of him. It's insane. I'm sure that the estate of Frank Silva, the Silva estate, if was anyone living, I'm sure they had to okay it. You can't just, do that type of thing normally. No, but I liked the episode a lot. Again, the only episode I'm not big on was episode 5. I thought this was a really good one. I really think they needed to have this happen now because it's going to be so important when they bring back Coop. Like, I think they had to kind of lay the groundwork for how Coop's going to come back, and it's going to be fucked up. If this is any indication, Coop coming back could be insanely fucked up. To the point where you wouldn't even believe it. What inspired Stephen King to write horror? I don't know this. Oh, that's screwed up, VCR. I didn't know that. So here's an interesting idea. The young girl who had the insect crawl into her mouth. Are we supposed to connect her with a character that we know? Was that a character we actually know? Yes, she would have to be old. Could that have been a log lady? Jesus Christ, it may have been the grandmother. Wow. Wow. Because she seemed not right. She seemed like possessed. So then, if that actually wasn't Bob, if that was some other weird, if that's how the inhabiting spirits appear as terrifying insects, that could be the old grandma. Oh my god. Okay, 1956. 56, 66, 76, 86. Yeah. Yes. I'd say more likely the grandmother and not the. Oh my god, so there might be some weird body snatcher shit going on then. Not like it clones people, but it takes over them. Insects. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, that'd be nuts. I see. I don't know how they're gonna pull that off though, Mr. Try. So if they want to show us that Frances Bay died, she passed away. I think like 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure she passed away. Huh. That'll be crazy. That'll be honestly insane. Here's something even crazier. What if the Garmonbozia, which resembles cream corn, looks like cream corn, isn't actually cream corn? What if it's connected to that insect? Yes, yes. Tremont and Chalfont. Oh no, no, sorry. Miss Tremont was from Mrs. Tremont was from the TV show, and then Chalfont was the name of the grandmother and her grandson. They are they do appear to Laura and give her the painting. This would look nice on your wall. Wow, that'll be fucking crazy. Jesus. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, one of two things happened in that scene. We're supposed to obviously see that insect thing and what the hell's going on with that, and like what the hell. Either it's showing us that's a process. We don't know what it leads to, but that's a process. Or we're also supposed to focus on who that young girl is. So, how close was that to Roswell, New Mexico? Do we know? I mean, it could have been the whole idea now is that what we thought were aliens were these things. 'Cause I believe it said Mexico City. It was Mexico City. But it was right around the same time of. Yes, but when the atomic bomb testing went off, when that happened, it was 1946 or 45. Are you sure the UFO incident wasn't 1945? It was 1947. Interesting. Then they're just showing us the nuclear bomb testing. Like at first, I thought it was just some insane phenomena that just happened there, like. But then I was like, before that happens, you actually hear a countdown, and the way they shot it was just so beautiful that at first it looked like a mushroom cloud, but then there was this insane amount of lightning in the sky that just kind of hung there, these strands of lightning, and I was like, I believe it's a mushroom cloud. I'm not sure. Does anyone else have any questions on David Lynch or Twin Peaks? Let's see if we have any announcements. Give me 1 second, please. Nope, not currently. But yeah, that was insane. I'm really looking forward to this though. A good friend of mine, Spider Lincoln, I've mentioned him before. Um, he's right now. He watched Twin Peaks years and years ago. Okay, he's rewatching it right now, and he has like maybe I think less than 10 episodes to go. Probably more like 6. And then after that, he and I are gonna watch this. And I look so forward to his facial reactions. I mean, I almost wish I could like have the cameras here filming. I mean, I'm not going to do that, but um, it will be priceless. I don't know, like even the first 2 hours of a glass box and not existent, and having so much of it in the Black Lodge. I mean, hell, once we get to episode 3, oh, it's gonna be grand entertainment for me, I have to say. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for watching. You have been awesome, and we won't be doing this next week only because there's no Twin Peaks next week because of Fourth of July weekend. Let's say it correctly. Because of 4th of July weekend, there is no Twin Peaks. Most TV shows won't have new episodes. There's, TV shows. Um, because of the holiday. That's just how things are with networks. I mean, Preacher might get a new episode just because they're launching tonight. So I don't know if they want to go... Oh, no, you know what? I bet it isn't. It's got because they have a 2-night... a 2-night event. So there's a new episode tonight and one tomorrow. So Mr. Try, I'm not sure about that. I think the word would come out right away, not to watch it. I think more people would have turned against it and stopped watching it if they could have watched all the episodes right away. I think word of mouth would get out there, and it would not be that enlightened. I mean, there was more in common with the movie Eraserhead tonight than there was anything having to do with Twin Peaks. So the only thing that happened in Twin Peaks was Nine Inch Nails performing in the Roadhouse. That was it. That was the only point in the entire episode where we were in Twin Peaks, which tells me that the story now of Twin Peaks is about the entire world and the effect of the Black Lodge and the beings that are inside it. I don't know, Mr. Try. I think people would be like, this is too much for me, and like at the end of episode 3 they would be done. Or maybe at the end of this episode. I don't know. I really think that's a possibility. I think my brain would explode if I tried to binge this show. If I tried to sit down and watch all 18 hours. I like here's something. I usually take notes for this, right? And for this episode I couldn't. There was just no way to take notes. It was just I was trying to wrap my head around what was happening. Yeah, I will say though that it was beautiful. I mean, and those sets were crazy. Like David's like, okay, this is gonna be like a 1920s. This is gonna be like Trip to the Moon, like a early 1900s silent film. Okay, let's do this, everybody. Oh, and the outfit that the woman was wearing was really bizarre, by the way. It looked really weird. It almost looked to me like what you'd have is if you were an alien and you were in a silent film. It was odd. Yeah, that was wild. Gotta tell you, I'm really looking forward to the Blu-ray because when you watch this on TV, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it can on a Blu-ray disc. So it's gonna look astounding. I mean, David's kind of a video and audio file. We could get 4K from him. This could be Showtime's first 4K release, actually. I just thought of that. And I guess one thing David's looking at too is telling a story that I guess you're not beholden with the original series to fully understand. I yeah, I don't know. I look very forward to seeing other reviews of it. I'll be looking at some of those when I'm done with this. I'd make sure not to read the actual critical reviews and stuff before I do the show, though. That stuff can poison your mind. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. You have been awesome. And yeah, it's going to be not next Sunday, but the Sunday thereafter, so 2 weeks from then. I'm right now toying with the idea of doing a talk show for Game of Thrones. Because I love Game of Thrones. I think it's a great show. The only thing that worries me about it is trying to remember the previous 5 seasons, I believe it is. Or is it 6? That we're all. Is this 7? Is this 7 or 6 coming up? This is 7, isn't it? So I think, what is it? 7 is like 7 episodes, and then 6 is 6 episodes. I'm sorry. 7 is 7 episodes, and 8 is 6. if I go through and do that, though, the way that would work is it would be a talk show for the first episode, the premiere, and then one at the end. It would not be every week for Game of Thrones. Trying to do 2 talk shows for different TV shows would be a little bit difficult, you know. But yeah, thank you all very much. You've been fantastic as always. And tomorrow we come back with a game stream. I'll be finishing BioShock, and who knows what we'll do after that. I don't. I honestly don't. But yeah, BioShock should be... I think we're only about less than an hour away from finishing it now. So, yeah. Prince, you should definitely watch the show. There's nothing like it. No problem. Thank you all for coming here, and I hope you have yourself a good night. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.